Hey everybody, it's Ever from Hood Time Welding. Today we're going to be working on this trailer. I've got it marked out already. What we're going to be doing is we're actually cutting out this section of railing because the customer wants to be able to flip this down so he can do a side load with his four-wheeler. So the first thing we have to do is we're going to have to get rid of this so we can do a straight cut across. I have to be careful because underneath here there's wire running right along this rail, so the only time I'm going to be using the torch really is right here to cut this off and to cut the ears off here, which I'll explain why I did that later. So we're going to go ahead and cut that off. The rest I'm going to be cutting with a cutoff wheel, so that way we don't get this side rail too hot and melt those wires on them. I'm going to have to be quick on this, but what I'm going to be doing is using my technique of skimming so I don't have a ton to grind. So I'll do a quick once cut where I cut right through it, and then once I get it cut off, what I'll do is I'll just come back and skim a little bit to get the little extra off so there's less to grind. But like I said, I've got to be quick because we don't want to heat this up too much so that we don't melt those wires. So let's go ahead and get started with that. Get the torch lit here. As you can tell, it's a little rainy out today. Luckily I have an overhang on the shop here that I can hide under. So this first cut, like I was talking about, is just going to be straight down the side, just to get this off. So there's one side cut. Let's come to the other side. Now we're going to go ahead and start skimming. All you guys do is just use a little O2. As you see, I'm moving along pretty fast. Just skimming off that extra weld. So it'll be just a nice quick grind on it. I did a video about how to skim earlier, way back when. Not the greatest video. I might try to redo it here pretty soon, but it'll at least give you the basic concept of what I'm doing. You can hear I'm not using the oxygen on full. Not marking anything up. So we got that cut off. Like I said, I'll come back with a grinder, get it smoothed off. Messed up just a teeny bit right there, but the rest should grind up nice and smooth. So now that I've got this cut off, I'm going to go ahead and grind it real quick because I need to extend my line. So as you can hear, or as you can see, that only took me a minute of grinding to get that done by skimming it off like I did. So the reason I was telling you I need to cut these is, the reason is I'm going to have to cut these out because when this flips down, otherwise it'd be hitting on this bottom piece. So we need to make a notch out of it and still leave some meat on this back side so that we keep our strength and our angle. Most of your strength and your angle is right here. So if we tried to cut it right flush here, what would happen is then that would make this a little bit wobbly. So when you folded this down, after a while it'd start bending. So by leaving some, I'm going to be leaving 3/4 of an inch, it's going to leave some extra strength so it won't do that over time. So The rest is going to be all done with cutting wheel. I've actually decided to do this with cutting wheel too. Like I said, we got to really be careful not getting this too hot. I'll cut the bottom out. Well, I'll probably start actually on this top, but I'm going to cut 3 sides, leave the very top cut for last on both ends. And I'll cut all this out. And then what I'll do is I'll take a piece of angle or something, clamp it here to hold. Same thing on that end. And then that'll also help me once I'm going to put it back together with the alignment. Because once I get it out, I'm going to actually probably cut off an extra 1/8 inch on either side. So we have just a little extra clearance. I've got to make the hinges yet and that. And then we'll have some pins for up on top here. It's probably just be a little piece of angle to hole so you can pop a pin through it. So I'm going to go ahead and put you on time lapse because it's going to be a lot of cutting and that's sort of long and boring for you. And we'll get going on that. We got this all cut out. I need to straighten this out, which I'll do with a grinder. You can see I was already doing it on the other side. That's all set and prepped to go to actually reinstall this. Now the only thing I noticed, if you look, you have these 2 pieces of angle right here, which are sort of holding this flat stock where it should be. And this one's close enough to the end that it's keeping it. It didn't let it really move much. But on this end, we've got some movement. So what we're gonna have to do is we're gonna have to actually add a brace right here. And probably all I'll do is just take some like 1 inch or 1 inch angle and put it with the triangle up and put it right across and weld it solid. Then that way that keeps this down and keeps it straight. One of the things I noticed was, or not that I noticed, on the trailer right now, any ends are capped off with plastic caps. And I went through it and measured those caps, and they're about an 1/8 inch thick. So that this isn't tight in that gap. I mean, we've already got the thickness of the cutoff wheel, which I think is a 16. Let me double check here. Part of tape measure I can actually read. Yeah, so these are about a 16. So I mean, we've already got an 1/8 inch gap. But I'd rather have a 1/4. So what I'm thinking is we want 2 caps on, or a cap. Or let me think. Each cap is an 1/8 inch. So the cap, the end out there and the end on there, that's a 1/4. So that's a 1/4 per side. So that's a 1/2 inch. So far, we've taken a 16th and a 16th out. So that's an 1/8. So if it was snug, that would be 3/8. Or we'd have to take out 3/8 more to equal up to a 1/2 inch to make it snug. But since we want it actually a little bit loose, We want an 1/8 on either side. I'm actually thinking we'll go, well, an 1/8 on either side plus 3/8. So we'll actually take 5/8 off of one end. It doesn't really matter too much. We got rid of where this angle hits, so you can't even really tell. And so it won't be noticeable. So what we'll do is we'll take and draw out 5/8 on this and get rid of 5/8 of material. Just so it's a little bit loose in there, and you can put some caps on the end of it. So we'll hit right on that line there. So we're just going to go around and trace this one. Now that it's in a little better position, and get a little straighter cut, because it's not the most perfect cut on these, but I mean it's pretty close doing it in position with the cutoff wheel out in the sun and everything. Let's go ahead and get this marked out. So that's all marked. We'll go ahead and start cutting on that. We'll start that in just a minute. So these are the pins I got. Figuring that way you didn't have to keep track of a cotter pin. So what I'm going to probably do is figure out or measure, well, we can do that right now. Measure how wide this is. So inside a ring to inside a ring is 1 3/4 inches. So if we use 1.5 or 1.25 angle, we can just cut 2 pieces, weld one on this side, weld one on the other with a hole in it. That way you can just put this in, flip it down, and you're all set. So while we have this over here, like I said, we're going to cut this 1/8 off, or this 5/8 off. We're going to fabricate the hinges, which will just be rod with pipe around it like I did before. And we'll put this support in. I think that's just about everything. Oh, and clean this up. So I'm going to go ahead and put you back on time lapse because, again, grinding's boring. And we're going to get this all cleaned up, this cut, this cleaned up, so this is ready to go. And then we'll start cutting our pieces. Like I said, we'll have a piece of angle in here. We'll cut the pieces and drill them for the top for this. And then we'll make our hinges. What we're doing now is making the hinges for this. All it is 2 pieces of pipe. I'll weld one on the bottom and one on the gate itself. The washers will keep it in place. So the biggest thing about the washers is just trying to get this center up as best I can, throw a tack on, and then weld them solid. So I'll do one side. I didn't quite get that one. Same with the next one. Again, just trying to keep the washer centered. I'll probably end up just shaving them just a teeny bit, just to make sure nothing catches when the pin's turning. But It's a simple pin. What am I using for a pin? I think 1 inch. Yeah, it looks to be 1 inch. So it should be plenty solid enough, even though it's only 4 inches long. So let's go ahead and get these welded on so they have a few minutes to cool. And she's spitting at me a little bit there because this is, those washers are galvanized. And I didn't take the time to grind the galvanized off. If you're going to be doing a lot of galvanized, make sure you're wearing a respirator. Because galvanized can give you some really funky dreams that suck. So those are those ends. Let's give them a few minutes to cool off. I don't know if you can see with the camera how they're just a tiny bit bigger than the pipe. So what I'll do is I'll just take it over to the bench grinder there and just nip that off so they're nice and even. So now with these angles are going to be where the those pins that I showed you earlier, these ones, are going to be connected through. I don't like them quite, well, I guess they'll be fine that high. And what I'll do is I'll come up, how high? Well, if I made them 1 inch. Yeah, I'll come up to the 1 inch mark and put the hole through. You know, center the hole and then bring it up 1 inch to the middle. And we'll get those drilled, but that's sort of boring. So we'll go ahead and put you back on time lapse. When we get back, I should have those all cleaned up and we should be getting ready to fit everything up on the trailer. Got everything fit up. What I did is I threw some angle to make sure each end's alright. And then what I'm going to do is mark 10 inches in here. Because that's where the end of the one hinge goes. Because that's what we're going to put it right next to this angle on this side, and that's 10 inches. So you just want to match up where they're sitting. So if you'll just give me a minute. So there's that. And now what we got to do is get our gapping the same. On this side, we have about 1/4. And on this side, we have 5/8. So if I remember right, we're going to want about 3/8 on either side. That gives us room for our caps on either side to go in. That cuts a little bit off on that end. This one's like just about like dead on. I don't know what happened on the one end there. It's got a touch more to go. just a touch over 3/8. And that's right at 3/8. So we'll go with that. So the first thing we're going to do is tack our hinges on. What we're going to do is we're going to follow our seam down here. So what I'm going to do is set it right in this seam. Try to get it centered. Tacks on top. Oh, I'm gonna have to get down here to be able to see this. Oh, son of a bumper. Did all that work, now I gotta do it again. Well, let's get back to work. Just over 3/8. You gotta remember where you're grabbing onto sometimes. Try to get this back to 3/8. There's 3/8. There's that. I hope I'm smart. What I would do is actually tack this one in place too. So that way when I crawl under there, I'm only crawling under there once. What I'm going to actually do, push up on this one a little bit. There's that one. Do the same thing on this end. So, should be able to release this. And get that to swing down. Like that. And she swings down nice. Now, you gotta remember, this one, I know it's sort of hard to see, but this one I tacked on here. And this one, tacked over here. Same with this side. I'm a bonehead. I did tax on the wrong side on that one. I'm gonna have to cut them real quick. So you get the idea. All these are gonna do is I'll draw my mark on here, center them up, put them right to the edge, tack, weld, and then those will all be all good. So, well, I'll get you back on regular time once we get them all finished. And I'm not a bonehead. So that's it on this trailer on putting this new side gate on. All you gotta do is pull the two pins, give it a little lift, it pops right down there. The customer will be able to load your four-wheeler from the side, so I think they'll be pretty happy with that. It goes right back up. Again, pop your pin in, pop your pin in, and you're all set. It's a nice little project. Sorry, I got sidetracked there for a second, but anyways, it was a nice little project. Got it all done right before the rain let loose. I hope you like my content. If you do, you know, as always, subscribe, follow, comment. If anything, a thumbs up. I appreciate it. And we'll see you on the next one.